But first, I want to show you something very rare. It's film of lemmings jumping off a cliff. I mean, you often hear about lemmings jumping off a cliff, almost never see it. Lemmings, jump off a cliff. But it happened today and in Canberra, and would you know, right in front of television cameras. Amazing coincidence. Here is the video. You see the new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, and the Minister now in charge of our electricity, Chris Bowen, signing a letter to the United Nations saying, hey, look at us. We are going to slash Australia's emissions even harder than the Morrison government. We're going to drive even more coal-fired electricity generators broke. And behind these two guys, take down their names, could be useful later, you see business leaders, you see union leaders, conservationists applauding as if this moment really is when we save the planet. Instead of what it really is, wrecked Australia's economy, wrecked our future. Frame this picture to remember the guilty and the gutless, the global warming zealots and the people cheering them on, some of whom knew better, but didn't have the guts to protest. What a moment of shame for Australia. And the timing, it's just astonishing. Because this farce occurred today when we actually see right now the disastrous results already of this crazy push to destroy our coal-fired power stations. The results of the global warming policies that have helped to destroy 1/3 of our coal-fired generators already in just 1 decade, like Victoria's giant Hazelwood plant, leaving us now so short of electricity that we're again being asked to switch things off.
The New South Wales grid will be under significant pressure between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. tonight. Everybody is working all day to try and avoid load shedding this evening. But if you have a choice about when to run some certain items, don't run them at 6 to 8. That's just a small part of the equation.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? 21st century economy. Prime Minister Albanese and Energy Minister Bowen, you just saw, they've actually seen what we get when we destroy coal-fired power stations without having any reliable alternative power source to go to. But what did they decide to do? Not to quickly back off on their global warming crusade, but to go in even harder, to set even more radical global warming targets, promising now to cut emissions by 43% by the end of the decade. This decade, which means getting even more of our electricity from fickle things like wind and solar. In fact, 82% of our electricity in just 8 years' time, meaning, of course, that coal really is finished. There they were today. We're going to show the world, little Australia, the country that could. Chris Bowen was so excited about impressing these foreigners.
We send the message to the rest of the world, to our friends and allies, that we are partners in tackling the climate emergency. We send the message to Australians that we seek to end the climate wars.
But who really is watching as we cut our own throats by going off coal? Just this week, the Vice Premier of China, now China is the world's biggest emitter by far, sent out the order. Major coal-producing regions of China should actively seek ways of increasing the coal output. The lights must stay on. They ran short last year. They've been digging out coal frantically ever since. Unlike in Australia here, apparently the lights could go off any moment. And still the Albanese government is pushing ahead with plans to drive our remaining power stations out of business before we've got anything reliable to replace them. And don't try telling Chris Bowen, this Energy and Climate Change Minister, that, hello, has he noticed? Notice that the power shortages we've got are worst around 6 p.m, 7 p.m, 8 p.m, that period. And guess what and why? Well, there's actually no sun. That's when the sun goes down. And no solar power. And not much wind lately either. Only coal and gas then can save us. And without coal, about 60% of our electricity today, where are we going to get the power so people can heat their homes in winter or can cool them in summer? Well, apparently you can't bother Bowen with these trivial little details. He gets so angry, like you broke wind in his church or burned his Bible.
The problem is there hasn't been enough investment in renewable energy. The problem is there hasn't been enough... No, you've asked your question, Chris, so I'm going to answer it. There hasn't been enough investment in storage. Yes, you can say the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine. Well, the rain doesn't always fall either, but we manage to store the water. We can store the renewable energy if we have the investment. And that is investment that has been lacking for the last decade.
Sometimes get the idea that he's full of holy roller fervour, but is a bit scared about being caught short on the facts, because this is crazy. Even 1 million more solar panels, if you know just 1 million more solar panels, they're still not going to work at night. And him saying, oh, well, look, we'll just store more electricity, you know, we'll find ways, you know, in batteries, which is obvious. Well, batteries actually cost an absolute fortune, and they run out in hours at most. You think they're going to help us through this? And when Bowen, and Albanese too, the Prime Minister, when they say we just need to go in even harder with global warming policies, more investment, more green power, less coal, that'll fix it. I've got to ask, where in the world has this really fixed things without driving prices through the roof? You look at Britain, that's got much more solar, wind and other renewable energy than we do. The fat lot of good that's done. I mean, it's now got nearly 6 million homes facing possible power cuts due to its own shortage of electricity. So like I say, this picture is of lemmings jumping off a cliff. It's a mixture of crazies and cowards who claim they know best, while all around us, and you can see it for yourself, we're already now struggling to keep on the lights.